We are here to talk to each other and try to understand better how our movements that so many of us are part of and committed to and have built very painstakingly, what does it constitute to make those really carry some kind of political charge beyond what they have already achieved. I think that really is the challenge for most of us. And that goes, of course, for the women's movement, but for virtually every other movement. Because you have strong women's movements in this country, you have very strong Dalit movements in this country, you have strong student movements in this country, you have considerably large working class movements in this country, working class organizations in this country. And I think the question is, how is it that the questions that that these movements champion, what is it we can do to make them impact much more on shaping politics as we know it? I think that is really the key question. Because to me, while I again repeat that with today's results, it's not that I have made sense of them or been able to say anything. I can't say anything formulaic or pat or feel good about them. I don't have a simple answer to why such results. Simply to say that we somehow failed to cobble together some patchwork of existing politics. And we can just do that and somehow stop what is basically communal, corporate, fascist force, which is no doubt one of the largest challenges for any of our movements today. So all I feel is that the way we respond to this can't just be a defensive bolstering up of a very tired kind of politics of various kinds that have failed to be responsive or responsible or interested in any of the people's movements concerns, any of the movemental concerns that we have been together with. Politics can't be in another box and these movemental concerns in another box. So how to make these movemental concerns actually inhabit political spaces, make them impact in politics is really, I think, the challenge, and it's not an easy one. I don't have any simple answer to that. But I do think that at least to see it whole would be a starting point, which means that I think very often we see, especially when it comes to women, you often see that things are very compartmentalized. I find that a lot of people, for instance, the media will want women's movement activists, and I'm sure all of us know that when we are approached for a little 2-minute bite on something, because they already have a story in place about how women's concerns, women's problems in this country are because of backwardness, and they already have an answer, they already have a story in place saying that the answer is more what is called development, modernity as defined by them, and then they say that all right, so whatever you are saying, whatever your varied and nuanced and tough struggles are, they're all packaged into something that says, okay, women's movement is asking for equality and rights for women, which is part of this larger package, and so it can go well with, say, some nice corporate feel-good advertisement that says something nice on Women's Day, or shows a woman, being strong, or that has a slogan like "Be bold for a change," or whatever it is. And I think that the point is that that's a misreading of really what our movements and what our struggles are about, and what the real problem is about, what the challenge is about. So I'd like to just spend some time trying and outlining what I feel about how to look at that problem. And then basically I think that one of the things which I've been thinking about lately, and I think we all could do with sort of talking about it and thinking about it, is that there are not all these separate compartments really. So how to look at the whole issue of women's oppression in India. For instance, if you look at the government campaigns and ads, many of them would like to see them as problems and then offer a solution which has no actually feminist orientation or women's movement orientation at all. And they will tell you that our concern is the solution. So don't ask us about how we are getting there and why we are adopting things. Let me give you an example just to make it really clear. Suppose you look at something like sex-selective abortion and you say that, okay, this is the problem. So you have a campaign like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and it says the entire campaign is about how girls are valuable, so you'll find the Olympic medalists and so on being trotted out to say, you don't let your daughter be born because she may be an Olympic medalist tomorrow. What if she's not an Olympic medalist tomorrow? Right? What if she's nothing to, she's not a medalist, she's not an award winner, she's nothing, she's a person, that's it. But the whole emphasis is there, and it says also that the appeal is to a lot of patriarchal values also, because they say that if you don't allow daughters to be born, who will become your daughter-in-law? Who will do those tasks in the house that you want? You want a daughter-in-law. Why do you want a daughter-in-law? Because you want them to perform those tasks. And this is not even really hidden, let me tell you. Because for instance, the Beti Bachao campaign, which I found out more about, one of its places of birth, where it was adopted later by the Prime Minister and his team and all of that, was actually a village in Haryana where it was the slogan of Avivahit Purush Sangathan, unmarried men's organization, and they said we are entitled to wives. We are unable to get wives of our caste and community because we are, and that is our entitlement. So during the election campaign, they actually asked, this was during the 2014 elections, they told parties, political parties, that you should do something to correct the sex ratio, because the sex ratio means that men don't get wives. And when they were asked, but you are, you're men who have studied, who have traveled outside, all of that. So what prevents you from, why is the sex ratio in Haryana a particular problem for you finding a wife? You've gone out to Delhi to study, you've gone out to other places to study, you might have met somebody, got married if you wanted to. So they said, no, that we are not that type of person. We are entitled to a wife of the right community and caste and the sub-gotra and all of that. So the whole idea is that they should be born there, and now we are having to, and the grievance was that we are having to import wives from other states, etc. So that tells you a lot, and the solution there was that particular village had adopted was increased surveillance on women. So they had older women being part of a secret team that the Sarpanch was having to keep an eye on pregnant women and basically sort of emotionally really harass them, telling them if you have an abortion then that's murder and all of that. So none of this is actually part of the arsenal of what women's groups have been doing on these questions forever and always, right? This is in no way consistent with an approach of the women's movement, which has always been an approach which talks about strengthening women's autonomy, whatever the consequence be. But the idea is that women should have greater autonomy, women should have greater strength in themselves to be, and their material circumstances to be able to actually take decisions. And then women's right to abortion was never the issue. Their right to have an abortion is there in the Indian law also, and it was never an issue that they should be under the ones under surveillance. The idea was that the doctors and the medical profession that tells you the sex of the child should be the ones under surveillance. But the entire campaign has no plan for that government campaign. So I started with that example just to, and there are many other examples. If you look at the Swachh Bharat campaign, where the target is to end open defecation. So the target is to end open defecation, but open defecation is so the idea is much of the campaign rests on slogans that say that, women, so you have popular and feel-good films being made about wives saying they will get married only where there's a toilet. So the myth being propagated is that women want toilets in the homes, which is actually based on all studies that's completely false. That's not true. The reason why nobody wants the kind of toilets you can build cheaply is because they would be pit toilets that would require at some point cleaning out. That cleaning out is associated even after decomposition, even if you have a twin pit. Cleaning it out is associated with caste pollution, which is why nobody wants to do it. The poorer and the more oppressed castes feel that by using that they are confirming their status as low, and so they don't want to do it, and no one else wants to do it because they said we'll have to get somebody else to come and clean it, and nobody will be willing to do that. that. So they don't want to do that. That is the real reason. So you can't, if you were to address the question of open defecation, you would have to talk about caste. You would just have to do it. But that is something that the campaign and the governments and so on are completely unwilling to do. So you have a campaign that is again targeted at purity. So purity, which has inevitably in our society caste tones. Even if the Swachh Bharat doesn't have to say CASTE in the campaign, but the point is that when you're saying Swachh, the very idea what Swachhata means, what purity means, what cleanliness means in social terms is loaded with caste. And that goes and for women, where they assume that women out of modesty don't want, the assumption of women's modesty and that women's lack of mobility is a good thing, is where the campaign starts. So they actually have slogans saying your daughter-in-law and your daughter, their place is in the home, their place is not outside, so you build a toilet in the home. A popular actress telling a mother-in-law, you've covered your daughter-in-law in a veil, and if you're sending her out to defecate, then you might as well take off the veil. And
काकी, घर में शौचालय कहाँ है? बहू को
घर में कहाँ? खुले में ही जाना पड़ेगा।
बहू, फिर तो तुम घूंघट भी खोल ही दो। एक तरफ तो आपको बहू का घूंघट भी सरकाना गवारा नहीं, और दूसरी तरफ उससे खुले में।
इस तरह तो हमने कभी सोचा ही नहीं था।
तो अब सोचो, घर में शौचालय बनवाओ और इस्तेमाल करो। शुरू करें निर्मल भारत अभियान। जहाँ सोच, वहाँ शौचालय।
So the idea that lack of mobility for women is a good thing, whereas actual studies that have spoken to women have shown women saying with great feeling that morning outing is their morning walk. That is what they value in terms of, they say, women in Haryana are saying to a recent study that was held on social attitudes towards open defecation, they said very clearly that we are cooped up in the house all the time, and that is the one outing that we have, which is why we are actually completely unwilling to give up that. We think of it as a good thing, we think of it as good for health, it's perfectly okay. So the real problem with open defecation, which is to do with caste and which is and its consequences to do with health, are something which are actually not being talked about, and it's a complete evasion of that. And gender and caste are being subtly, their codes are being subtly reinforced all the time by these campaigns. But you're told that the actual solution at the end will be a good thing, and it's a conservative society. We have to appeal to these things if you want it to work. You don't see it working actually, but that's what is being bolstered up all the time. And I think that the real question here is to see why in India is there to accept that there is very low mobility for women. If you're thinking about it from the point of view of the women's movement, you also have people saying about violence, right? That the idea is that the home is a safe place. If you go outside, so mobility invites violence, and some people say it crudely, like the Andhra Pradesh speaker did, or like your Karnataka Home Minister did, implying that westernization causes molestation, or saying, keep women at home like parked cars and they will not have an accident and all of that. But even those who are not saying it that crudely are saying it with, so-called empathy and concern. But they are also saying that it's, society is not going to change. So it's all bad out there. And so out there being a danger, and you have you have the government policies continuously reinforcing this idea that somewhere or the other outside is a problem. Mobility is going to result in violence. So all very well that young women are demanding, Pijra Tod and break the cages, and we don't want these hostel timings and all of that, but it's not practicable. Parents don't want it. We want to keep that in place, and it's for safety, what to do, and all of that. So the idea is, whereas actually, any kind of actual facts on the ground show you that danger lies as much as home, in fact more at home than outside, and among people one trusts than outside, than on the streets or anything like that. And in fact, restriction of mobility is itself a form of violence and discrimination, one of the most common ones in India. So the kind of surveillance to which women are subjected in Indian society, and the kind of restrictions on their mobility, is itself one of the key problems that the Indian women's movement would diagnose as being the huge problem. So why? What keeps it in place? what keeps it in place exactly? Is it only, and that's why I'll come to the heart of what I want to say, which is that I think we make a mistake, we meaning, any kind of very superficial analysis would make a mistake when we assume that it's just cultural, that these are just mindsets, culture, that these are things which are the way people think, and so it's going to take a very long time to change, it's gradually changing. Change is going to come via, modern culture, modern capitalism, globalization and so on will bring the change, and there is some kind of backlash to that change that is happening, etc. That is an assumption that is made often, and I think it's a completely false assumption. And we need to break that assumption quite strongly by showing that it is not just culture. The structures of our socio-economic structures are very much also part of the story. Culture and structures are working together, and it's part of one whole. So which structures are those that actually have an interest in restricting women's mobility? One is, of course, the fact that women are still doing the bulk of domestic labor in the homes. They still are, and there are many structures invested in having them continue to do that. Even modern capitalism, which would like the low workforce participation rate of women in India to change. They would like more women out in the workforce, but they don't want this part of it to change either. They would like to keep this constant, keep the fact that women's role in social reproductive labor should be continued. Women should continue to do whatever we call domestic work in the homes. It should be their responsibility. At the same time, we'd like them to come out in greater numbers and start working, etc. Which is why you do have first generation women workers in so many sectors that you see, especially rural health and all of that. Now, the thing is that itself means that there's a contradiction there, because you want them to come out of the house to work, but at the same time you actually want them also to continue with all that work. So how do you manage that? You do that by showing this coming out as being a necessary evil, something that women have to do because you have to earn and all of that. It's not a very good thing, but you have to do it. You have to do it to earn. What's that? So coming out and mobility outside is something which is not valorized and not seen as being good and all of that. And at the same time, the same methods of control and discipline that are used inside families, inside homes, what are those methods? Those methods are not only cultural methods and all of that. They are very much there to ensure that women's, restrictions on mobility are there to ensure that women continue to do those roles inside the home. And so within families and within communities, within the households also, there are those disciplining structures where men are taught entitlements, and women are taught those disciplines, those labors, all of that. But the other reason, as we all know, again, the unspoken secret at the heart of it is, of course, the caste system, where keeping caste in place means controlling women's sexuality and reproduction. It's impossible to do that without also controlling women's mobility and reproduction, all of sexuality and reproduction and all of that. It's keeping that entire structure going, reproducing the systems of caste and gender, go over and over and over, means that and maintaining the availability of certain castes for certain kinds of labor and the female gender for certain kinds of labor, means you have to keep those structures in place. And you can't do that if women start breaking the boundaries of, especially in terms of sexuality and their choice of partner, marriage, and so on and so forth. But also any kind of freedom and mobility. Now, again, I'll say that when a Khap Panchayat does it, okay, when ordinary families do it, we rationalize it all the time. We say to ourselves that that's a rational choice being made given the dangers that society has. So restrictions on mobility are seen as being quite rational and okay for families to do it. And it is rampant. It's not just some Khap Panchayats in Haryana that are doing it. But when a Khap Panchayat in Haryana bans mobile phones or something, there'll be some hue and cry in the media, there'll be some talk about, oh, some backward Khap Panchayat has done it. But when a corporation when a garment factory in Tamil Nadu does exactly the same thing, I think the garment factories in Karnataka seem to function slightly differently. But the Tamil Nadu garment factories keep women from, very young women from rural Tamil Nadu, many of them Dalits, in hostels. And they are kept in hostels where they are not allowed to go outside, they are not allowed to use mobile phones, they are not allowed to talk to fellow male workers, they are not allowed to talk to, they are not encouraged to go out anywhere at all. They are allowed one phone call home every week, which is under the surveillance of the warden and all of that. And you ask why? There's no hue and cry about this. It's there, it's documented in report after report, but there's been no public hue and cry, no media hue and cry about this. Because it's a modern factory, it's producing for modern garment brands all over the world. And it's not a khap panchayat that you can say, are backward and bring capitalism in and solve everything. Capitalism is right there, sitting right there producing for brands, and it is reproducing the same structures. It is using tactics, it is using methods of discipline which are used in households in our country, which the caste and gender forms of discipline we have developed over a long time. Those are actually deployed right there in the modern factory workplace, and that's a stark example, but there have been many others. We know how the exact same things are deployed in all the modern educational places where girls are going, young girls are going, and women are going to study for schooling or higher education. And there also the exact same thing is happening, where you have even ministers saying that we have to protect you from your hormonal outbursts, that's why we have to lock you up. But what's really going on out there? What's actually going on out there? You ask these factory owners, they also say the same thing. They may not say hormonal outbursts, but they'll say the parents outbursts. Parents won't allow these women to come and study if we don't have these locked, if we don't have this jail in place. If we don't have the hostels in place, who's going to come, who's going to send their daughters? It's all for the daughters' safety. They're like our daughters and all of that. And if you think about it, then actually I was very intrigued, for instance, to learn. I was reading a study that somebody had done about multinational companies traveling around the globe, and the time when a particular MNC was their experience in China, and this person who did this wrote this book about it. She found, in talking to the Chinese managers of Chinese companies, where young Chinese women come to work, and they are not encouraged to work for more than 2 or 3 years. It's like the Tamil Nadu garment thing. You don't want them to continue there as permanent workers. So in India, in the Tamil Nadu scene, it is done by saying they will come for 2-3 years, earn their dowry and leave. So it's Sumangali, they'll get a lump sum payment at the end of 3 years or whatever and leave. In China, the argument is that we need women of a certain age group. The minute they grow older, they will start thinking about boyfriends, they will start thinking about marriage, they will start, and their hands will lose nimbleness and they will be less productive. That is the logic. And so we need them out of the workplace at that time. So the surveillance on them is continuous, similar, where they are not allowed to, the male workers will have somewhat greater mobility. They will be able to have tea, cross over here and there, hang around chatting for a little bits of time, but the women are under continuous watch. And the idea is that they must be watched because the managers say they're like our daughters. We watch them like we watch our daughters. We are like Chinese fathers to Chinese daughters. We are watching them with great care to make sure that we can tell when they're thinking about a boyfriend or something like that, and that's when they're out. That's the out. So the actual thing is that these are familial codes being invoked, but what's happening out there is that you are having the fallout of not allowing women to have mobility or mobile phones is not only that that if they have those phones and have that mobility, they will have boyfriends and fall in love and break caste codes and all of that. Of course, they'll do all that. But they'll also they may do all that, but they will also use the mobile phones to talk to each other, to talk to people outside the factory, to organize, to maybe join a trade union, to join a women's organization, all those things, right? And that is clearly the plus that these companies are getting. They are not interested in being fathers or mothers to these kids, to these young women workers. The real interest there is obviously for capital. And clearly global capital, in its search for docile labor across the globe, is perfectly willing and waiting and eager to use all this at its disposal. In our country, it is certain kinds of caste and gender codes that are available, which it is using. So we have to see that these forms of discipline, if you have to fight it, it's not enough to say it's cultural and it's just a ways of thinking and all of that. And look at the ways in which we'll have to fight it. I keep saying, the slogan was mentioned, freedom without fear. By now, of course, there are so many other versions of this slogan that so many young women activists all over the country have come up with. But we are often told, and it's quite, it's quite common to hear this, that this is something which is for urban women. This is something for young urban women. This is not a slogan for, and I'm asked this very often because I identify as a Marxist. It's quite common even outside India, where researchers will come and ask you, but don't you think that such slogans and such slogans like, especially movements like this Why Loiter, in which is there where where women are hanging out demanding the right to leisure and right to loiter for no reason on public streets, that is all an upper class phenomenon. Don't you think it's an elitist phenomenon? And I have to turn around and tell them that I think it's elitist to assume that working class women have no right to leisure and pleasure. Okay, because the struggles that Rati mentioned in the beginning, which were the origin of Women's Day, they asked for an 8-hour day for what purpose? An 8-hour working day. Because they said 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest, and 8 hours for what we will, for leisure and pleasure. Exactly for that. And how is that going to be made possible for women? Only when if you socialize social reproductive work, and if that work is not women's work anymore. Otherwise, women would just be doing 8 hours there and a double shift at home, and certainly even your 8 hours of sleep will not be your own, because the kind of work there is. If a child cries in the night, then you have to get up and attend to it. And if it is only women's work, then they will not even have that time. So when women raised those slogans, they were certainly demanding the right to leisure as well. Even that was very much a revolutionary demand. So the idea that the demand for unrestricted mobility is some kind of privilege, is something that only elite women have a right to demand and it's only their issue, is I think something we completely need to change, completely need to shake up. And we need to see that if we need to be organizing women's struggles and working women's struggles as well, then of course we need to reinforce. And I don't say that women's movements have not been doing this, but I think that beyond the women's movement as well, I think the entire spectrum of democratic movements, left movements, all of them need to see that this is absolutely crucial. You can't think of organizing working class struggles without actually putting women's mobility and freedom at the center of it. You have to put it right there at the center of it, because restricting it is certainly at the center of the agenda for corporate capitalism. And similarly, if you're thinking about fighting communal fascism, then the idea that that can be fought by a thin, emaciated, tired definition of secularism, which is emptied out of any democratic content beyond something negative, beyond being not BJP, is ridiculous. Where is the positive content that says that even the right to, the defense of women's equality and mobility and freedom is part of that struggle for secularism? I see that happening very, very little, and I think it needs to happen a lot more. Because, of course, women are saying it. Of course, you find women on campus saying Bharat ki Mata nahi banenge and all of that. That's wonderful. But I think the question is that when it comes to women's rights, immediately you find that the so-called secular spectrum gets divided. Immediately it becomes, if you're talking about sexual violence and the accused happens to be from the wrong camp, from our camp, then it's like, why did you have to do this? You shouldn't be questioning, you're just crying foul for no reason. When it comes to something like, even like triple talaq, I think the issue is that democratic demands like that can't be compiled. You can't say that will come later. The demand has arisen from within the community, from Muslim women within the community. Surely that was the principle that we all said in the 1980s, that change from within. Change from within, fine. Change from within is right there. Change from the demand for change from within has come right there. How is secular space going to respond to that? Exactly. With what kind of commitment is it going to respond to it? And that's a question for all concerned. That the idea that the battle against communal hatred and communal hate-mongering is going to be fought without being able to take this on board is laughable, for more reason than one. I'll just talk about it briefly. Because look at how our concerns are being harnessed by the communal fascists. Questions of violence of women. questions of women's rights. These are what communal fascism is disguising itself in. It is wearing those clothes. It's actually saying, it is getting away with saying something like, let's have Romeo squads against sexual harassment outside campuses. We know exactly what that means. We know exactly what they mean when they say we're here to protect women. They're not protecting women from violence, they're protecting women from women's own mobility and freedom. We know that. They're playing on anxieties they know exist, not only among certain upper castes and all of that, but right down to the Dalits and everybody who doesn't identify as Muslim. And the anxiety that your daughter might fall in love with a Muslim, that your daughter might marry a Muslim or might be involved with a Muslim, is something they're playing on, they're harping on that, and they know they're able to do it because the anxiety is also right there among the Muslim community, that your daughter will fall in love with somebody who's not a Muslim. And so that the fact that the maintenance of communal and caste boundaries is something which is seen as cultural, our private problem, we have every right to hang on to that, and battles for secularism will be fought beyond that and outside that. Don't meddle with all this, and don't enter the bedroom, don't enter our family space. This is all, keep it to your urban campuses and all that. Raise these slogans there, don't come here with them. Don't say freedom without fear in the rural spaces. This is something we do here, and we have to tell them, how can you do it? How can you claim to, how can you ever think of, dream of fighting communal fascism without actually talking about women's freedoms and mobility quite squarely? I'll share an instance there from Bihar where we have had quite a long history of work. We found, for instance, that even among Dalit women in Bihar who have had a history of shared struggles, the Pathani Tola massacre was not only a Dalit massacre. Those killed there were from Dalit as well as other oppressed castes, and many of them were Muslim. The person who lost the maximum number of members of his family to the Ranveer Sena massacre there was Naimuddin Ansari, who lost 6 members of his family there, all of them women and children. And so it was a case where Muslims actually had been chased away from the nearby village, and they had come and taken shelter with the oppressed castes in Bathani Tola. And the attack on Bathani Tola was therefore very much communal as well as a anti-Dalit one. And it had all those overtones. So those histories are there. So when we spoke to them during the recent survey that a couple of years ago that our comrades were doing, they found that to speak to people about communal divisions and communal prejudices, there's quite a lot of inoculation against those. Okay, so there's much less bias for communal notions and of the average variety. Okay, about Muslims being dangerous and Muslims being troublemakers or Muslims being terrorists and so on. But among the Dalits, among the oppressed castes. But if even when Dalit women were asked by us, by people who we had, these are people who've known our movements for a while, and they know that we have struggled for intercaste marriages, all of that. When Dalit men have been attacked for marrying outside the Dalit community, there have been so many such instances. And even then, when asked, what about if your daughter marries a Muslim man or wants to marry a Muslim man, the first reaction is, well, we don't hold with violence and all of that, but that would mean that a man is a very bad man if he was to do that. So that is something that goes very deep. It goes within, it tells you about how much hegemony those ideas have, and how those structures go down really deep. They have very deep roots. And I think that the communal fascist forces know that. They are playing with that. So we can't assume that it's enough to laugh at these things as deeply modern and it's enough to laugh them away. I think that we really need to be shaking up by the foundations, lock, stock and barrel, shaking up those foundations of caste and gender. If we need to fight and win this battle. Similarly, if it's about annihilating caste, and that's just last few remarks that I'll be making. When it comes to annihilate caste, I think that the thing has to be that it's also about, and I'll just share another small anecdote there, that someone, young Dalit woman student told me, that at a function where they were there to basically commemorate Ambedkar and remember him, there were a lot of young women Dalit students gathered there, and somebody who was a local leader from a Dalit party. He came up and he said something to those girls like, and they were young Dalit men as well. So he came and gave them a smile and said, you do want to get married, don't you? And they all smiled and said, yes, yes, and all that. And he said, well, so you will marry Dalit men, won't you? And they said, ask the Dalit men, they're the ones who want to marry outside and all of that. And he said, no, it's all up to you. You people had better make up your minds that you must marry only within the community and all of that. And I thought to myself, this woman who told me this was very disturbed by this admonition, because she felt that she said, in order to annihilate caste, surely at the center of that you would need to say women have to be free to marry who they like. That would be one of the blows you give, to caste. And so do men. After all, Dalit men are also at the receiving end of violence when they marry outside. It's not just a question of their betrayal of a caste when they do so. They face the entire spectrum, the entire Dalit community faces that horrendous violence when that line is crossed. So surely challenging that and making sure that crossing that line becomes the norm rather than the exception should be one of the struggles. Surely that needs to be done. I do believe it with all my heart that women's freedom, which means that we don't arrange marriages for women, rather that they have the right to choose whoever they would like to be with, should be one of the key considerations. So basically, I'll just end by saying that what I have tried to say, I don't know if it all fell together in place, but is to say that I think that the structures of caste and class and gender, they actually tie together. The structures of how global capital functions also tie up together. They're not all working at cross purposes with each other and separately. So our struggles would also have to be shared struggles. We can't hope to be fighting one kind of struggle without also addressing at the same time simultaneously with as much emphasis all the other kinds of struggles. We can't hope to struggle against communal fascism or to annihilate caste or be organizing working class struggles without, with a great deal of emphasis also organizing women as part of a political struggle, not just part of social reform, not just part of social activism, which is, I think, one of the reasons why, many of us were identified by the media and so on, would like to slot us as social activists. We want to say, don't slot us like that. There's a reason for that. It's not just because of some liking for certain kinds of alphabets attached to our name, like AIPWA or whatever it is. It's not that alone. It is because that struggle is not just some kind of social reform and social activism. It has to be a political struggle. And it has to be a political struggle that's willing to challenge and change the way in which we know politics today. It has to be something that creates a new idiom of politics that is bold enough to say all these things, that the question of women's freedom and annihilation of caste can become the language of politics, or the question of working class struggles can become the language of politics. We have to believe that, and I think we have to fight for that, and perhaps there lies the answer even to fight the challenge against communal fascism.
As a part of political change, within the left political parties, does this exist?
I think the left and progressive forces have consistently denied the importance of religion, which is something very personal. I'm not talking of the religion of going to temple, the show of religion, the rituals, but personal religion, personal gods, I think in India will be very, very difficult to deny. Could it be that because the communal forces are, like you said, they're using our clothes, could it be that they're wearing the religious cloak and therefore succeeding in winning over people?
Yeah, firstly, I think the whole idea what I mean is that I think of political change as being something that has a content of social content. That's the point. I feel that the kind of political change we've talked about till now has not had that kind of radical social content at all. It has tried to systematically, even parties that have been structured around big proponents of social change, even Periyar or Ambedkar or anybody, have actually hollowed out a lot of the radical content of those thinkers in order to keep it keep it short of that. And what I'm trying to say is that to put back all the content of all these movements we are talking about right into the political space as being important politically. I don't have an easy answer as to how to do that. So I'm simply saying that I really think that has to be the real challenge there. If we simply think that we will conduct those movements in some separate box and when elections come we will choose out of existing boxes and hope that everyone chooses something safe, that probably isn't really going to happen. And we would have to be doing something to actually change the way in which we experience and know politics. That's all I'm trying to say. You asked about left party. I think that in fact, I'll give you a mixed answer there. One is I think that among all the parties in India, among all the spectrum of political parties in India, probably the only parties which have been not that shy of talking quite openly about women's freedom and mobility have been left parties, which have not been that shy of talking about it. In spite of that, I would say that definitely there is, it's wanting in some respects. I think that even there you will find socially conservative trends, tendencies in the name of electoral, viability, the idea that somehow you need to tone down on certain things. I think those things are there, but there's also at least within those parties some kind of pushback and the space to say it and fight it out right there and say that we don't have it. I don't see that kind of freshness and that kind of space and that kind of because these are taboo to say anywhere else. To even say these as political issues, I would say, beyond the left have been taboo subjects for political leaders. I haven't heard. That said, I think that where you find left leaders of a certain stature and including those who are chief ministers and so on, when they get the chance to do that, from their mouths also we don't hear what we think we should be hearing. But for instance, just to give you an instance now, for instance in Kerala right now, I was disturbed to hear that there's going to be a sex offenders registry. Okay, I think that women's groups, many of them, have worked very hard to show why these are quite regressive moves that have nothing to do with protecting women, that have everything to do with profiling certain kinds of men, certain classes of men as being more violent. Sex offenders registries will profile those who get convicted. Those who don't get convicted because of the clout that they carry are not going to figure on those registries. So I think that for them to go for these populist easy measures rather than to actually look within them, those are, I think, questions, those are disturbing. So it's not that I feel very complacent there. But still I feel that in terms of political idiom, there's at least much more of a space there. You talked about religion. I don't think so. I think what I mean is that I don't see, to my mind, the left as it has been in India has in fact, if anything, leaned the other way, hasn't it? You have the CPM in Bengal being part of every Durga Puja committee there was in West Bengal. Okay, they were part organizers of every Durga Puja committee there was, to my knowledge. There was no shunning of religion, certainly no, it was not anathema. Yes, they did try to say, and to their credit, and I don't deny that, I'm not mocking this. I think it's a real problem. I think it's a real issue there, how will you approach it? I think they did approach it as a social, something in which there was social participation and cultural participation, and they approached it that way, and they looked at it, right or wrong. They did that. So I think the very easy, facile thing to say is that the left, because the left individuals, left activists are atheists, and the left does not organize around religion. It's very easy and very facile to say, the left doesn't understand religion, that's the answer. I think the problem is how have we understood class? If Modi is playing class against us, if he is actually able to give a class spin to demonetization, if he is able to deliver a death blow to the unorganized sector in the country with demonetization, but spin it as a class measure against the rich, that should worry us. That should be something we should be thinking about. How did we do that? Where has the left actually failed in its analysis there of class, not of religion, of class? Because somewhere or the other, I think the boldness that was required, and certainly from all the opposition, but even from several of the left parties, I think the kind of boldness needed in challenging demonetization head-on, in calling a spade and actually building up against it. Instead of that, there was a certain cowardice, there was a certain sense that, okay, we will issue statements, but we will not actually organize and go to people about it because it's popular and nobody wants to touch anything that appears popular. You think you can manage to do other business as usual stuff and do politics separate from actually addressing. Whereas I would say the idea that fascism is only something when it's a communal violence against Muslims is plain silly. I think demonetization was one of the most dangerous moves on the direction of fascism that this government experimented with, and clearly with a considerable degree of success. Because they did manage to give it the spin they wanted to, of course with a lot of help from the media and all of that. So, of course, but I think that is really the issue there, not any failure to understand religion or social realities.
No, I was just pointing out that at some point of time we had some idea, some hope about art. But what baffled me entirely about art was that people, including Yogendra, none of them talked about gender. I mean, I'm taking up on your point about politics taking up the question of feminism and social justice. I didn't find a single this thing in art. How do you react to that? I mean, even progressive, so-called progressive parties don't do that. I don't know whether there was any missing, but not to my knowledge.
ನಾನು ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಚಾರ ತಮ್ಮ ಗಮನ ತರಿಸ ಬಯಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಪುರುಷ ಪ್ರಧಾನವಾದ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಬಹುಶಃ ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲೂ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಇತ್ತೀಚಿನ ಅಮೇರಿಕಾ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಚುನಾವಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಹಿಲರಿ ಕ್ಲಿಂಟನ್ ಒಂದು ಸಾರಿ ಅಲ್ಲ 2 ಸಾರಿ ಪರಾಜಿತರಾದರು. ಮೊದಲನೇದು 2008ರ ನಡೆದ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೇ ಒಬಾಮಾರ್ ಅವರು ಹಿಲರಿ ಕ್ಲಿಂಟನ್ ಅವರನ್ನು ಪರಾಜಿತರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಆವಾಗ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಿಕ್ಕಲಿಲ್ಲ. 2ನೇ ಸಾರಿ ಇವರ ಅವಧಿ ಮುಗಿದ ಮೇಲೆ 3ನೇ ಸಾರಿಗೆ ಇವರನ್ನು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಟ್ರಂಪ್ ಅಂತ ಒಬ್ಬ ಪುರುಷ ಪ್ರಧಾನ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥಾಪಕನನ್ನು ಮುಂದೆ ತಂದರು. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ UK-ನಲ್ಲಿ ಡೇವಿಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾಮೆರಾನು ಬ್ರೆಕ್ಸಿಟ್ನ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ನಿಭಾಯಿಸಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ತನ್ನ ಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ ರಾಜೀನಾಮೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಥೆರೇಸಾ ಮೇ ಅಂತ ಒಬ್ಬ ಮಹಿಳೆಯನ್ನು ತಂದು, ಆ ಥೆರೇಸಾ ಮಹಿಳೆ 2 ಸಾರಿ ಒಂದು ಹೌಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಾರ್ಡ್ಸು ಮತ್ತು ಹೌಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾಮನ್ಸು ಎರಡರಲ್ಲೂ ಈ ಬ್ರೆಕ್ಸಿಟ್ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಆಕೆಗೆ ಆಡಳಿತ ಪಕ್ಷದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಮೆಜಾರಿಟಿ ಸಿಗ್ತೇನೆ 2 ಸಾರಿನೂ ಫೈಲ್ಯೂರ್ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಅದರ ಒಂದು ಅಪಯಶಸ್ಸನ್ನು ಮಹಿಳೆಗೆ ಕಟ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮ ಗಮನಕ್ಕೆ ತರಿಸಕ್ಕೆ ಬಯಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಾವು ಯಾವ ಹೇಳಿಕೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಿದ್ರು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ.
You're right, absolutely. That's one of the instances I would say in terms of building a popular, the idea that to build a popular politics, a viable, successful politics, you have to remain silent on or complicit with certain kinds of social conservatisms, especially on gender. Okay, is something which is quite widespread, and AIPWA is a good example of that, because on 2 instances I recall, it's not just a question of silence, it's not just a question of what they didn't say, it's also a question of what they did choose to say, which is that Kejriwal's book, that little manifesto that he wrote, actually has a positive reference, or at least non-committal reference to Panchayats. It does, and Yogendra defended Panchayats publicly. He did so publicly. He even said, to the extent that the demand, which is quite popular in Punjab and Haryana, to do away with women's right to inherit ancestral property. He actually said that, well, it's a demand and it should be considered, and let's see, what the communities feel about it. So there was no clear position on that either. And where, last Women's Day, for instance, in 2016, when Kejriwal was Chief Minister, he gave a speech where he actually said exactly what we've been challenging throughout, what the women's movement is always challenged, which is he said that Women's Day is a day to remember how grateful we should be to women, how wonderful women are, how self-sacrificing women are, how women in his life also have remained in the background and made it possible for him to reach where he was by sacrificing their time, energy, by doing more. And he said, so be nice to the women in your lives because they do all these things for you without bina chu bole. He used that perfectly Hindi filmy dialogue of that they do all this without a word of complaint. Given that Women's Day is all about the words of complaint and more than complaint, of complete revolt and rebellion, to say that on Women's Day was quite a feat for somebody to achieve, for anybody to achieve, with any ounce of political empathy or intelligence. Because after all, Aam Aadmi Party positioned itself as being the party of the movements. That's what I mean. When it comes to the left, you do find the occasional one or two, left leaders who make up very sexist remarks and so on. But as a rule, as parties, you don't find the left political parties saying this at any rate. That is certainly not what you find. That these banalities about how women are all self-sacrificing and that's why we should love them or respect them. I think that what you are asking about Hillary and Trump and about global sexism, I would say that of course there's a lot of very strong patriarchal and sexist misogyny globally, absolutely. But I don't see the symptoms of it the way you do. I don't think of it in terms of Hillary or of all people Theresa May as being representatives in any way of what feminism is all about or what women's concerns are about. Theresa May is a representative of an extremely conservative tendency in the UK right now. Hillary herself also could try to position herself as a feminist, but it's a certain kind of, it was a certain kind of feminism that was quite comfortable with global corporate exploitation of women's labor, global wars that have affected women globally in global imperialism, basically. So I think that that kind of, and even in American soil, the attitude towards, for instance, migrant women of course, Trump is the ultimate what Trump is saying about migrants and so on is so beyond the pale that we are getting to see it and hear it and all of that. But you did have very strong movements against Clinton administrations as well, for that matter, even during the Obama administration, because not that these leaders were necessarily saying something anti-migrant or whatever it was, but the fact is that the policies were deeply hostile to migrants in those countries, and many of them women. So I think that I don't see, to me, I find it really interesting and encouraging that this time in America, the most spoken about Women's Day events were not events which were led by or initiated by the UN or by anyone else. They were movements initiated by people identified on the left, quite openly so. A broad range of others also joined in. But they actually called for a women's strike, in which they clearly said that while we are against Trump and all that Trump represents, we see Trump as a product of what has gone behind him, and so we are not doing a strike to say we wish we had Hillary. We are here to say what we should have instead of Trump and even instead of Hillary. So they actually talked about socialization of labor and social reproduction, reproductive rights and responsibilities that the state owes to women. They put all those, and they talked about Palestine, and they talked about global capitalism and all that. They actually put it there, and it was quite popular. There was participation all across the US. There was a lot of discussion in the US media about it. A lot of nasty comments written in the US media against the organizers of the strike, calling them terrorists and so on, including by some on the Democrat side as well, which was good because actually it was a moment in the US where actually a sort of left-oriented feminism was brought onto the discussion table and generated a lot of discussion, a lot of attention, a lot of support. So I see that as being something that they did in the right direction to challenge what is undoubtedly very sexist and misogynist and all of that. But it isn't only about the things Trump says. It is also about the state's cutback of social services that women's movement won. And that's happening in the UK. It's happening viciously in the UK as well. And it's also about anti-immigrant rhetoric, both in terms of Brexit as well as the Trump phenomenon. It's also about violence against blacks. It's also about violence against LGBT people. And all that has preceded Trump. It has built up to where you are, no doubt. But to explain Trump only in terms of as though post-Trump alone has led to those acts of violence is simply not true. It's been happening.